What's up, everybody? Welcome to the HESN Football Podcast. We've got a show for you here. It's been a while since we've been on because we've had some midweek games. I know people have been asking for us, when's the next podcast? Well, we've been putting together a good show for you. So here we go. It's going to be a short one because we got a game actually tonight. I'm trying to figure out the audio here. We got some tech issues. Let's get this sorted out here. We've got a show for you here. It's been a while since we've been on because we've had some midweek games. I know people have been... Okay. All right. We got the tech issue sorted out. My apologies for that. I'm going to give you my view here. I decided one thing to hang up the Phillips jersey. I got that at an auction at a Bell Warriors banquet. I signed Justin Phillips jersey. I had the privilege of playing with Justin for a few years at the Warriors, and then we had some battles when he was at Laurier as a D lineman. I was at McMaster as a DB. We were in a few Yates Cups together, a few great semifinals, and even a quarterfinal. He's a great dude. Hopefully he'll be able to coach one day when his kids get old enough. But for now, we're going to get into the podcast show. A couple things to talk about right off the bat. Red Blacks, a tough heartbreaker that we all watched against Winnipeg. But I think we can all agree that there's still a lot of hope for this Red Blacks team to do well in the postseason, and we've clinched a spot. So these are things to celebrate. The Red Blacks announced today that they have graciously offered a special deal for all NCAFA clubs where you can go directly to the OSEG or the Red Blacks website and purchase the tickets for a discounted price for the October Hamilton Tiger Cats game. Believe that's I will get back on the exact date of that, but I believe it's the 19th. October 19th it is. So Ottawa Red Blacks going to face the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Reach out to your clubs or go straight to the Ottawa Red Blacks website to purchase the tickets at a discounted price. I'm just going to make sure that I've got that right. The user code is NCAFA. Bear with me here. I didn't do a whole lot of prep time, but I got a game tonight to shoot, and HESN has been busy. We did the big broadcast of the Mosquito game of the year. For those of you who joined us, we had, I think, a peak count of 60 or 65 people watching at the same time. Those viewers stayed with us the whole time. We've reached 4,500 and counting on organic Facebook reach with that Mosquito game. It's insane. It's pretty amazing. So actually, what you want to go to is a website. I'm going to share the link actually in the comments, so hang with me here. I'm going to jump over to the computer. I'll share the link where you can buy those tickets at a discounted rate. I think they're $24, so it's an amazing discount. Let's get that place packed and loud, and let's win that game against Hamilton. We're going to move right along. We've also we've had a lot of games. We talked about that Mosquito game. The power rankings are out today. So we're going to talk about that. We've had a lot of people online already that have disagreed with the power rankings. They've said they can't understand why the Quebec teams are involved. We're going to explain all that. I'm going to go into that in a little bit more detail. So hang with us for that. And then we're going to talk about the OUA. We're going to catch you up on a little bit of what's been happening at U Sports here in Ontario, how Carleton, how Ottawa U's doing, some of the matchups that we want to look forward to upcoming. And why don't we just get right into it? And we want to end the show too. We've got a tight deadline here because, like I said, I'm out at Beckwith tonight. It's 5:13. Games kick off at 7:30. I got to get out there. So we're going to try to get through this. We're extremely blessed. We have the two biggest guests I've ever interviewed up to this date. No offense to the local guys that are usually on the show, but Damon Allen and Anthony Cannon are going to come in. They're going to talk non-contact football. We all know that that's the direction of the sport right now. CFL's pushing flag football. NCAFA's got to get its hands in it, and we're going to get a big boost with the help of these guys and a few other players that are really going to be instrumental in helping NCAFA establish itself as the leader in non-contact football starting this offseason. So we've got a lot coming at you. We're going to take a short break, and then we're going to come back with you with the OUA information here that we've got lined up for you. All right, we're back. I'm Jesse Card, the host of the HESN Live Football Show. We try to go Wednesday weekly, but now with the playoffs starting, we're probably going to have to just fit it in whenever we can. If you join us online, I'm going to get over there when we get into the interview and just do a little bit of social median or whatever you would call it these days. Very impressed, though, from a standpoint of HESN. We're coming up on about 10 years old as a company. Really, originally, it was designed to be a social enterprise. And for those that don't know what a social enterprise is, or maybe haven't heard about what the point is, it's basically a for-profit, for-purpose business. And the idea is we want to inspire youth and create employment opportunities for youth through sports and sports media, teaching them the skills that are going to be valuable in the 21st century. So we're going to be talking more about that towards the end of the season and into the playoffs. And we're going to be launching a special behind-the-scenes involvement that you can be with the helping decide the direction of HESN with a Patreon membership. So we're going to be launching that. Obviously, we would love anybody's support to help build what we're doing here and be able to reach more clubs, shoot more games, hire more youth, and also be able to be a viable business. But we're gonna talk to you guys a little bit about that a little later. Right now, we're gonna go into the OUA and look at some of the results from the past weekend here. Ottawa U doing what they should have done all along and making sure that they are staying right in the hunt with the top teams in the OUA. Ottawa U beats U of T 53-21 in Toronto. Windsor 14-66. Western is still rolling. They are the team to beat in the OUA and the country. They're looking with Greg Marshall for their second Vanier in a row, and they're looking to repeat. Queens goes to McMaster, and they take it down to the wire. That's a 27-24 victory for the McMaster Marauders at Ron Joyce Stadium. And Laurier visited Carleton, and that was a great game. Also came down to the wire. Of course, that game was played at MNP Park. Carleton losing that one by a thin margin. And lots of great OUA action. I'm telling you, what I'm looking forward to is this rematch between the GGs and Carleton in the playoffs. We've got some great football happening here in the nation's capital, along with the Red Blacks. I'm going to jump over here quickly to the social part here. I'm just going to put this view on, maybe just push us over here, and I'm going to go see who we got online right now. So hang with me. I'm going to put the mic over here. I'm going to share the link to the special offer on the Red Blacks have been gracious enough to give us. So here we go. There's the link. I'm sending the link out. And we're going to see who we got here joining us right now. All right, there's the link. Ollie, what's up, brother? Okay, tough loss for the Giants. We're going to get into that in a moment. Who else we got here? We've got Jody. How you doing, Jody? Welcome. Who's going to be out the game tonight? Canada versus Myers. Who's going to be out there? I'm going to be out there. Make sure you say hi to me. If you are going to that midget football game, there's another game. I believe the Mosquito Cumberland Panthers are playing the Giants somewhere. I think the website says to be announced. So I don't know where that game's being played, but two games on the docket tonight, October 10th, and the weather has been beautiful the last few days. I hope everyone's had a chance to get out and experience probably what will be the last few days of nice weather before we head on into the fall and the winter the winter breezes start to blow cold. Let's get into the power rankings, okay? Everyone loves the power rankings. Let's get the Mosquito power rankings up here. Boom. All right, Mosquito, week 8. The big news here is the Eagles overtake the Cumberland Panthers. And, you know, these are sophisticated rankings. You know, we take into account points for, points against. And, of course, the Cumberland Panthers have only let up 12 points this season to the hands of the Nepean Eagles in that game on last Wednesday in the primetime spot. But they also had a home field advantage. They also had the canteen working towards them. They had the smoke blowing on the from the burgers and the chili dogs getting in over the Eagles bench there. They strategically positioned it so, I believe, and you know what? They've had not as strong of a schedule as the Nepean Eagles, and I believe, and I know I'm gonna receive a lot of hate mail for this, but the Eagles and the Panthers are going to have to go back and make adjustments, and they've got the live stream to be able to look at, and the Eagles have a few highlights, I believe, on top of that of the Cumberland Panthers in against the Orleans Bengals from previous weeks. They're going to look at what they did well against them, and they're both going to make adjustments. But I believe what I saw out of those Eagles with that passing attack and the coaching and the chess match that was involved between those two coaching staffs and those two teams, I believe that the Eagles edge out the Cumberland Panthers. And I know I'm not going to be agreed with in the east side of the city here. I'm probably going to pick up a few fans in the west in Barrhaven by saying this. But I do believe that moving forward, when these two teams meet up, and if they do their jobs properly and they work hard and they make the adjustments and they watch the film, the Nepean Eagles are a more dangerous team. I think they can score quicker, and their defense was pretty lights out. I was very impressed with the discipline of the Nepean Eagles defensive line, the aggression, and this team, I believe, edges out the Panthers. But hey, we got a long way to go before we see these two teams match up again. Now, a lot of people were confused by what some of the teams in the CAFA kind of disappeared from the board. And we've increased the power rankings this week to include 11 teams. And we've introduced the Quebec equivalents. And of course, this year, for the first time ever, the Mosquito Division is introducing the Interprovincial Bowl Series at the Mosquito level. Last year, we had Pee Wee, and of course, we were 1 for 3 in the Interprovincial Series. The Myers Riders represented NCAFA and Ottawa well, and they beat their opponent in the Interprovincial Bowl. Canada faced the Sun Youth Hornets. They lost to the Sun Youth Hornets, and now it's interesting because what's playing out is a lot of those kids from the Bantam team on the Knights and also the Hornets are moved up to midget, and now guess who are the two undefeated teams in midget? We're going to get to that in just a moment, but they could possibly be facing each other as undefeated teams in the Interprovincial Bowl in Montreal at the end of November. How cool would that be? How special would that experience be? We'll have to wait a while to see if that's how it will play out. And there's a lot of football to be played between then. But if we go back to the Mosquito, Nepean in 1 now. Cumberland dropping to 2. Humbled Cumberland Panthers here. The Shadowgay Raiders at number 3. The St. Lazare Stallions have taken number 4, and the LaSalle Warriors claim the number 5 spot, with Canada coming in at 6. The Riders at 7. The Sunnybrook Chiefs at 8. The Cornwall Wildcats, very impressed with them. They've had a big victory. They beat some good football teams at the Mosquito level, these Cornwall Wildcats have. And I'm excited to see this organization. I'm a huge Kirby Champlin fan, and I think they're going to be good for years to come while he's involved, and his 2 young boys are as well. But this Mosquito team's starting to surprise people. I'm saying that Cornwall is going to be a very dangerous team in the playoffs. Orleans coming in at 10, and the Greenfield Park Packers rounding out the Mosquito Week 8 power rankings at number 11. What do you guys think? You think I'm crazy? You think that HESN is nuts for knocking the Panthers down from number 1 spot when they've only let up 12 points in the season? Or do you catch my drift with which team might be a little bit more dangerous down the stretch? I don't know. We're gonna have to wait and see. I believe like I said before, the Panthers are playing the Giants tonight. They got to get out of that game. They've got to make sure they're executing things and working on plays and concepts that will be advantageous for them in the playoffs. And they need to come away without getting anyone nicked up in those games so they can be healthy for the playoffs. So let's move up to the Pee Wee Power Rankings. Now, we didn't have the information about the Quebec League here. So until we get the proper information, the Pee Wee Power Rankings, there's a few shifts within the Ottawa community. We got the Cumberland Panthers and the Myers Riders staying where they are. We've got the Bell Warriors at number 3 that are moving up and overtaking the Bel Air Lions. And the Bell Warriors did beat the Lions, and the Cornwall Wildcats have hopped up. I was talking about the Cornwall Wildcats at the Mosquito level, but at the Pee Wee also, this is a very competitive team, and I think they're going to surprise some people. Canada Knights have dropped down to 6. The Raiders have moved up, and the Eagles with their defeat over the West Carleton Wolverines. Those highlights are up online on the NCAFA Facebook page and the HESN YouTube channel where everything is hosted. We've got the Orleans Bengals at 10. The Gatineau Vikings and the Giants have stayed at 11 and 12 ranking spots, respectively. We've got some great football coming up here, and I hope everyone's as excited as I am. I think this is just going to be one of the best NCAFA City Championships that anyone's ever experienced. The Myers Riders will be hosting the festivities, and it will take place at a classic venue that we've all probably played at growing up or coached at. And I just feel like it's a little bit of a homecoming with the new turf at the Minto Sportsplex. It's a big old parking lot. There's going to be lots of people. We've got great stands. They're wood. This is a classic NCAFA championship that we got on our hands here. I'm going to jump over quickly to see what some of y'all are saying. I noticed Mark Ouellette's joined the cast. And like I said, for those of you that are just joining us now, I'm going out to film a game tonight, so we've got to get this podcast out. It's usually on Wednesday, but the point is that with the playoffs and some of these games are being scheduled on Wednesday night, so it just doesn't work. So we've got to make sure that we're getting out and filming these things and getting the highlights turned around, and we've got a lot to talk about. So we're going to move over here. Paul Stewart, thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. Always appreciate it. Patrick, how you doing, brother? I've been following your posts. How was the Cleveland game? You were down watching Mayfield do his thing. The Browns go to 5-0. Is that correct? 5-0 for the Browns. Unbelievable. Chris Ross, good night. Okay, he's going to practice, and that's the other thing, right? Everyone's just getting ready to go to practice. Maybe they're watching this in the car as they're heading out. We appreciate everyone watching. The views on the live streams, like I mentioned before, I posted a little bit of the analytics there. Unbelievable. We're reaching 5,000 people with that game over the course of when it's live and also the week that it's just sitting there. And then I went and I cut up some of the highlights from it so that we've got that. So people just want to watch 5 minutes of it. They get an understanding of what's happening in the league. It was awesome. We got Mike Rouleau to co-broadcast with me, and of course, those that know Mike, he's coached at the Cumberland Panthers. He's on the executive. He's a big wig at the Ottawa Blues Fest, and I've had the privilege of working with Steve Johnson over the last few years, and he's brought me in on the Blues Fest and City Folk, and been able to broadcast and produce some of these big big musical acts. It's really a dream come true. It's been awesome. And Mike Rouleau, he can call a good game too. We're gonna have him back. He had a lot of good insight. And then on Sunday, I broadcasted the Giants midget game against Sun Youth, and we're going to talk a little bit about that when we get into the rankings of midget. But a little bit of a letdown in that game. Sun Youth Hornets going to 9-0 and beating the Giants 28-0. But the thing, I'm gonna save that. We're gonna get to that. We're gonna go into the Bantam power rankings and talk a little bit about that at the moment. All right, here we go. Bantam power rankings, week 8. They've just come out today. People are starting to digest that online through all the various Facebook channels and the Twitter and Instagram. I believe that I still need to post a few of these on Instagram. But let's get into it. Cumberland Panthers stay at number 1. And once again, the Quebec teams start to enter the picture. Now, a lot of people have asked me, what the hell's going on here? Why are the Quebec teams on here? Are we going to play them in the playoffs? No. Here's how it works. The Interprovincial Bowl will be crowned to the champion of both provinces. But NCAFA will play within its playoff structure like we've had for 65 years. You've got the A Cup, the B Cup. That's my alarm, excuse me. I'll stop that. And the C Cup. But the winner of the A Cup will go on to the Interprovincial Bowl. But we've started to add these Quebec teams so you can start to understand the power rankings and who we believe the strongest teams are at that moment. So in week 8, Cumberland Panthers haven't shown any real chinks in their armor, and they have a pretty complete team. Now I will say though, they have 2 full weeks off, and potentially you could get kids starting to tune out, maybe not showing up for practice, not taking things seriously, and they could take a major step back. I know the coaches there are working hard to keep everyone motivated and make sure that doesn't happen. But as you and I both know, that's a great risk for this Cumberland Panthers team. The LaSalle Warriors come in at number 2. I believe they are 8-1 or 7-1. The Canada Knights still really are a competitive team in this division. They've won some big games. They have lost to Cumberland. That was the first week, I believe. St. Leonard Cougars at number 4 that are just entering the power ranking scene now, and the North Shore Lions at number 5. Chateauguay Raiders at number 6. So right there, you look at that. You've got 4, 5, and 6 belong to the Quebec teams, along with number 2. And the Warriors. I asked people today when I posted this, who do you think the sleeper team in this whole Bantam division is? And the overwhelming majority of you said the Bell Warriors are the sleeper. So don't sleep on these Bell Warriors. They are getting better week to week. They have an outstanding. I'm gonna put that in capital letters and bold it. They have an outstanding quarterback. This kid could be a special one, and I believe he's in his first year of Bantam, so he's a 14-year-old. He has showed so much poise, and I think the Warriors got themselves a quarterback. They've also got a backup quarterback that they decided they're going to move to receiver, and this guy is hauling. Do yourself a favor. If you're a true local football fan, go watch the highlights from some of those Bell Warriors Bantams games, because this number 9 has been hauling in some miracle catches, and apparently he's just kind of like coming on at the right time. So this team is going to be the sleeper. That's what everyone is talking about, and believe me, the Cumberland Panthers know this. They're aware of it. They played each other 2 weeks in a row, and the first matchup was a very, very close game, and that could have gone either way. And they also played the Canada Knights, and once again, that one could have gone either way as well. So I think I'm looking forward to this Bantam level the most, and the Myers Riders at number 8. Myers Riders just lost to the Warriors recently, but they have with the introduction of the Quebec teams, they've dropped quite a bit in the power rankings. But at the same time, they are still right there, and week to week they could take major strides. The Eagles at number 9, and the St. Hubert Rebels at number 10. So tell me what you think. how is this going to play out? Who's going to be the representative of Bantam? Last year it was the Canada Knights, and now we're seeing what they're doing at the midget level with some of those kids. Jared Valentino comes in as second year at the midget team. But at the Bantam level, there's a lot of good quarterbacks. You've got Zach Cloche, you've got Connor Vanasse, you've got the Bell Warriors player that I just mentioned. I don't have his name on hand here. There's some great quarterbacks, and we don't even know what to expect from these Montreal teams yet. I haven't seen any film on them yet. So, of course, at the midget level, we have a league pool with Huddle. So every team in the midget Montreal and in the CAFA League at the midget have a Huddle account. We share film. Everyone gets to see each other's film. We're really building the skills that are going to become valuable at the collegiate level, whether that be down in the U.S. or up here in Canada with U Sports. I mean, film work is really what separates players. And the people that know how to study film, how to watch the positions in front of them, looking at their speed, this can make a mediocre player into an all-star player. And in fact, I'm going to say that's what happened to me. I'm a mediocre player. I was taught how to watch film. I took it seriously, and I was able to put myself in good positions. And some of the great players are able to do that. So being able to introduce film at the midget, at the 16, 17-year-old age group is really putting them ahead of the Toronto kids. Because one, I can tell you right now, the high schools, most of them don't have the funding to be able to get Huddle accounts and filming set up. And they're not, a lot of times high school starts at grade 9 or 10 in Toronto. And my experience was coming from the CAFA and playing from the time I was at Tyke at 8 years old. You can go in and your fundamentals are so much more developed than the average Toronto kid. It's almost night and day. You add the ability to know how to study film, working with some of the coaches that have played at the high levels themselves, and we got a lot of coaches at NACAFA doing that. And also there's trainers in the city that are coming from all-star CFL careers like Pat Woodcock, Donnie Ruiz. I just met a young man, Christo, who played at 3 NFL teams. He's got a facility that they're building out off of St. Laurent. I mean, there are people that have the wherewithal that can impart this on the kids in Ottawa, and it's amazing. I'm excited to get some of these guys more involved in football, and I think there's a lot of potential here. I'm excited about where Ottawa football is and where it could go. But having said that, that's the Bantam level. Let's jump in right here while we're doing this, and let's get into the Midget Big Ten. All right, so the Midget Big Ten. Wait, let's go to the comments here real quick. Justin Marion's joined us. What's going on? Kevin McCoy. He says, "Go Knights, midget game tonight." Yes, you got it, brother. I'll be there. Make sure you come say hi. I'll be the guy with a coffee and maybe a raincoat. I don't know. I haven't looked. It was kind of touch and go earlier this afternoon when I was downtown. But hopefully we got good weather here for this game. And I'm hoping to see the Myers Riders give the West Ottawa Knights a run for their money. So the Big Ten, Sun Youth Hornets, we get to see them in person at Millennium. We broadcast that game. They're the real deal. And I just want to say that I was so impressed with the organization. I went out and talked to the head coach and the trainer to ask for a roster and just to explain what I was doing there and my contribution for the day. And they said, you know what, the boys in Montreal love what you guys are doing at HESN. They're watching the power rankings week to week. And I said, well, I know why they love what we're doing because they've been number one for 6 weeks. But all joking aside, they were very gracious, very well coached. I think a lot of these coaches have played a very high level, and they've been together as a coaching staff for a long time. And that's why they're having the success that they are. And they also know that year to year, the players cycle through, and sometimes they have great teams with great players, and they're blessed to have that, and they coach them up. And some years, not so much. What do? They coach them up. That's the job. These guys have an understanding of why they're there with youth football. They're there to to develop the skills, develop the love of the game, and to pass them on to the next level if they so choose to go in a better position to be successful than when they came to them. This is what we're doing, and the reason I'm harping on this is because there's it's not a secret. Maybe a few coaches in the midget level here in our backyard in Ottawa have lost sight of that. And I want to go on the record here to say that we seriously need to think about what we're doing here and the example that we're setting. And if it's anything but showing respect and love for the game and battling it out like football is great to do, which is, true warriors of the gridiron. You shake hands, you smile, you go for a pop after the game, a Coca-Cola, and you leave it on the field. And this brings me to one quick little point. I noticed that the Quebec teams have a habit where they shake hands at the start of the game. And, I've had a discussion with a few people about this, and the philosophy and the rationale for that is because in the past, the Quebec teams feel that there's less chance of potentially any issues if they shake the hands before and then they go. But here's the thing. Here's what I think, and I've had this discussion. I've thought about it a little bit. You know what? If you can't shake the team that you played and either you won or you beat or whatever the score, whatever happened in the game, if you can't line up, look your competitor in the eye, shake their hand, give them a smile, thank them for the competition, then we got an issue here, and we're losing control a little bit. So I'm just going to go on the record and say, listen, there's some great coaches in this city, and we need to make sure that we don't lose sight of the big picture. And this goes back to the conversation that Tyler had a few weeks ago, where he's talking about it's not about you, it's not about your program, it's about Ottawa football first. And that's a hashtag that I put out once, but maybe we got to keep sending this out. Ottawa football first. It's the big picture, and it's about the young boys that are playing this game. Okay, that's enough. So West Ottawa beats the Nepean Eagles at TD Place. So they have this beautiful venue to play in, and I hope the kids had a good experience. I'm going to say that again. I hope the kids had a good experience. The North Shore Mustangs at number 3, they're hanging around. They're always going to be a good competitor here in this Quebec QMFL. You got to go through the North Shore Mustangs to get to the Interprovincial Bowl and the Montreal Championship. Don't sleep on these guys. The St. Leonard Cougars have dropped a spot down to number 4. The Bellor Norsemen have overtaken the North Gloucester Giants, and these two teams have kind of been sparring for the middle pack 5-6 position all season. After the performance that the Giants had against the Hornets, it wasn't that they got beat, and it wasn't that they scored 2 huge touchdowns, like 45-yard passes over top of the defense. The highlights are up on all the Facebook platforms and also hosted on HESN YouTube channel. If you do go to the YouTube channel for HESN, all you got to do is type in HESN in YouTube, subscribe to it. We're closing in on 2,000 subscribers, and the more that we get, the better views we get, and hopefully one day we can attract some people to advertise with us, because we're doing some pretty impressive numbers now, and this is a valid advertising avenue. But on top of that, we're also a great thing where we're providing coverage to local volunteer organizations, and also we're a youth social enterprise, and we want to build that component where we're hiring and we have jobs for youth, and we're making sure that everyone's getting involved in the beautiful aspects of sports and competition. So the Giants lose that, but what was real kind of frustrating to watch was that they lost in the way that they did. It was undisciplined play. It was shooting themselves in the foot, where they were jawing at the other team, and the refs were throwing flags at them left and right, and they were starting their offensive series, I think 3 times in a row. They started 1st and 35. You're not really going to put yourself in a good position there. There was a play where a player body slammed somebody to the ground, and yeah, you know what? It gets a few reactions from the crowd. Coaches don't want to see that stuff, especially the guys at the next level. You got to be smarter than that. So I don't know where these Giants are going to go personally. They got to play the Norsemen on Saturday night. That's a big game. Then they're going to play them again, and quite honestly, they could see each other in the first round of the playoffs. So these teams are going to have a bitter rivalry going. I just hope that they can play it the right way and play honorable football. And like I said before, at the end of the game, leave it all in the field, give each other a hug, and get to know each other. Because man, football's a fraternity, and some of these guys you're going to know for the rest of your life. And you end up coaching against them one day, and it's a beautiful thing if you let it be a beautiful thing. Nepean Eagles at number 8. And I think they played a pretty damn good game against the Knights. I was impressed. I think the quarterback there played the best game of his season. Number 9 has emerged as a real downfield threat. This guy has great hands. He has deceiving speed. He doesn't look fast, but he's fast, and he's got like a natural instinct for running the ball and running to daylight. And obviously Noah Gauthier ran well. He caught the ball well. He provided that spark for the team, like we always say he does. Here's the big thing: Orleans jumps off of the second division QMFL midget conference into the Big Ten for the first time, and they take the number 9 spot. They're 6-1. They've got the top seed spot in the second division, and if they remain there, what's going to happen is they're going to play in the Big Ten playoff structure. They're probably going to have to play Sun Youth Hornets week 1 of the playoffs, but what an accomplishment if that happens. That is a win right there. That is a success for the first year ever Orleans Raftsmen. They've had to deal with a lot of off-the-field controversy. They've been the spotlight of some stuff. Now, I'm not going to touch on it right now. Tyler's going to do a special broadcast where he's going to update us. And what I would like to first ask everyone online here is, would you like HESN to stop covering what happened to the St. Matthews players that switched districts and then realized that they were misinformed unethically and now they haven't been playing football? Would you like us to keep covering that, or do you want us to drop it? You decide. You're in the driver's seat. But Tyler has some new information there. He's been in contact with the Catholic School Board, and I'm interested to hear his take on where things have gone to this point. You guys let me know. Thumbs up right now on the cast. Thumbs up right now if you want us to keep going and keep figuring out what's going on with what happened with the players from the Raftsmen that went to the St. Matthews Tigers. If you haven't watched that, you can go back to a few episodes, a few podcasts later. I think I've isolated the clip too, where you can just listen to that part of the podcast. Go check it out, hear our perspective, get involved, and let us know what you think about it at this point. The Myers Riders at number 10, they play tonight against the Knights. We're going to get to that. But right now, we're going to finish off and look at how that affected the QMFL conference. So Orleans is gone. They were number 1. They're gone off into the Big Ten, where we can now rank them based on the other Big Ten teams. Shadowgay, as a result, bumps up. They've been sparring with Saint Lazare and also Saint Laurent all season. Gatineau also has the potential of doing something in the playoffs. And I say this, they're a winless team right now, but they've lost games against Orleans by like a point. They have lost games against Saint Lazare by a touchdown. They are very, very close. And if I'm going to say anything to this Gatineau team is just stick with it. Stick with it. You've shown that you're a tough team. You've stayed together at this point. You haven't gotten a win. That sometimes can be the most frustrating. And you know what? Sometimes the weak players leave when that happens. So the fact that unit has stayed together and the coaches have stayed together and worked at it, you know their heads are in the right space. And this could be a fun team to watch in the playoffs. The Greenfield Park Packers, who also haven't won in the Big Ten, they get jolted off into the QMFL Midget Conference and they land at number 3. But of course, they moved from number 10 in the Big Ten. So, you know, that's a demotion for them. There's so much good football happening. I am pumped to to have the playoffs beginning. The weather's changing. Tonight's going to be a fantastic game. Here we go. Now is a special part of this. We've got some non-contact information. We've got a lot of non-contact football and some great people involved. The late Ed Lavery, his daughter has picked up from where he left off. She started a new foundation to try to get more people playing touch football. And we're going to hear right now, I'm going to bring on a pre-recorded segment with Anthony Cannon, who played at Tulane University, and he was on the Detroit Lions for 5 years. We're going to talk to him about what he's doing in Toronto with non-contact flag football and 7-on-7, and how he's taking some teams down to the U.S. and the benefit of that. I had a very, very productive meeting with Christo, who I mentioned, who's an Ottawa kid, went to St. Pete's, started playing football at grade 12, surprisingly, and he went down and did some amazing things in the U.S., played for 3 NFL teams, including the Cincinnati Bengals and the Oakland Raiders, and Anthony brought on a guest that needs no introduction. We're going to go to a quick break. We're going to show the graphic of who he is, and then we're going to get in. We're going to end the podcast here today because I got to get out to Beckwith soon with none other than the Damon Allen. So we will bring you that. I hope you guys enjoy. Okay, this is a real treat to be able to bring 2 guys that don't need much of an introduction here. We've got Damon Allen on my left and Anthony Cannon on my right. They joined the HESN podcast, and we've got a lot of cool stuff we're going to talk about. But first off, welcome, gentlemen.
How's it going? Hey, thanks for having us on, man.
No problem. So you guys, I thought the first thing I'd do is I'd ask Damon a couple things. I want to take you guys back to some of your earlier career stuff here, and according to the research that I just did here, Damon, after the season in Edmonton where you won the Grey Cup and you came in and took over for Matt Dunnigan, actually. I didn't know that, but that was interesting to read. You went to Ottawa in 1989, and I was just curious to hear your thoughts about the city, seeing as how this is an Ottawa local show. How was that experience back in '89, and I think all the way through to '91 that you were playing with the Rough Riders?
It was a great experience because that was the first time I actually was experienced being a free agent and signing with another club. And the fact that one of the reasons why I went to Ottawa had a lot to do with Steve Goldman. We had just won the Grey Cup in 1987 with him being our offensive coordinator, and he's getting the head coaching job in Ottawa. And so that was one of the reasons why I came to Ottawa, and especially the opportunity, because if many people that don't understand is it was Matt Dunnigan on our team, myself, and Tracy Ham. And we all knew we wanted to play, and we knew we eventually were all going to, separate to actually get the opportunity to play on a regular basis. We all felt we were starters, and it was a domino effect in a sense because in '88, Dunnigan was traded to BC for a number of players. And then I ended up leaving in '89 on a contract dispute. But at the end of the day, I mean, we all had the opportunity to go to other teams and play. And, Ottawa was a very good experience. I mean, they almost gave me the key to the city. I remember giving the mayor at the time, or the prime minister at the time, the jersey, and sitting at his desk. And, we always pretend like you're answering the Oval Office phone and stuff. So that was an experience as far as the media hype behind it. The thing that you probably learned the most is once you become a starter and you go to a different team, a team that may not be as talented as the team that you left, but it was a situation we had talented players, but it was just a matter of time, pressure on me. But it toughened me up and prepared me to go further on in my career and to play the football. Eventually, I always knew and capable of doing, and believing that I could do. And it did make me a better quarterback going through it.
Now, Anthony, we talk about your background. You played at Tulane, right? And you had some time with the Detroit Lions, and I have a buddy who's a hardcore Lions fan. He said if you interview Anthony, you got to ask him what it was like playing under Millen.
Oh well,
Mike Millen.
Well, Matt Millen, but I can say playing under Matt Millen, he was only there for the 2 years that I was there. Then we had a new GM come in for my third year. But I mean, under Matt Millen, when you play for a GM or a team at the NFL level, everything starts at the top, and you know, we had talent on that roster. I mean, it was an NFL team, so you know, the 53 man roster that they select as an organization at the end of the training camp. Well, we always had a competitive squad, but you know, obviously people question some of the draft picks that were made early on, and when he first was there in Detroit, you know, taking four receivers 4 years in a row in the first round. I mean, that kind of comes back and bites you later on in years after that when you're trying to build or sustain within a conference like the NFC, NFC North. So it was an experience, and I learned a lot. I learned a lot about the business of the game as far as being a professional athlete. But it was a dream come true, obviously, to play at that level. So I appreciate every experience that I had. So.
Oh, okay, that's right. That's right. With the was he with the Raiders at that time? Number 55. Okay, so I mean, you guys are two guys that have taken the game really as far as it can be taken, and I'm curious to see how you first got involved in non-contact, the non-contact portion of football, and what it is that you think is important, or what do you like about that aspect of the game?
Well, I think for me, contact. I mean, I remember you could probably agree with me. AC is like we didn't have flag football and all these things when I was growing up, and so our non-contact was out there, playing in front of your street and playing street ball at first, and then the odd time you were playing tackle football on the grass with you're playing against your neighbors, but. How I got involved in this aspect really came about when you started to look at the concussion issues, and then put a situation where football being played non-contact back in the forefront. So we knew that there were leagues playing flag football and those things, but it wasn't as popular until the concussion issue came about, and then you started to realize it makes a lot of sense. That certain aspects of football, you can't take away the game of football because every child should play tackle football at some point to be able to make it to the different levels. Right. But flag and touch really is important now because now it talks about the development side of the game of football, and it allows kids to develop properly before they get into contact. Because when I got into contact, they just gave me some gear and said that you're playing tackle football at 7. They don't tell you how to tackle, all the different things, the fundamental aspects of playing the game of football you're not prepared for. But at least when you get into touch and flag, it allows you to develop the fundamental skills as needed to get prepared. And then from there, you're preparing yourself to play tackle at a certain age and stage, and that's where the game is now. And now when we talk about flag and 7-on-7, these are the components that are preparing young kids. But 7-on-7 is the system that prepares young kids to prepare themselves even better in their development and in the next stages in college and a lot of different things.
Right. Yeah. No, that makes perfect sense, and I think that's certainly in Ontario, we're kind of unique where we got a lot of football, right? We're playing in the summertime, we're playing in the fall. In the southern, where you guys are, Southern Ontario, you've got high school football. In Ottawa, it's a little different. We've got City League that goes all the way up to 18 years old, but then we also have high school, so we're kind of diluted in terms of where the kids are playing. But definitely, maybe too much football. Would you agree? Is happening here in Canada?
Yeah, I definitely would agree. That's really where this all started and came about when I was done playing with the Argos. I started to work with a couple high school players, and coming from the States, being playing Pop Warner all the way up. I started playing football at 12 years old, so I didn't play tackle football at a young age.
Right.
And made it to the NFL. So, when I see kids playing at 7 and 8 tackle football 2 and 3 seasons throughout a year, it's just too much football.
Yeah.
When it comes to tackle, I myself, I know how much of a toll it takes on your body every time you make contact or any type of hard hit out there in the field. I mean, there's times where you're a little dazed, and as a young kid trying to develop and your body's still developing, there's only so many hits that you could take. So I knew that bringing the non-contact aspect to the development during the off season was probably the best direction to go, because I myself, I never wanted to, I don't want the kids to stop getting reps, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want those reps to be at the expense of the kids' bodies, right? Like, I want them to be able to get reps, because those are the most important thing as a young athlete developing, right? The more reps you can get, the better.
And I want to add something to that, because I'm gonna let Anthony continue on. But it's just a quick note. Coming from the States, the fact that they're longer span to be able to play a variety of different sports. When we play football for those 12 games, after those 12 games are over, the season's over, and we're off to another sport. And so in Canada, it's a little bit different. So that's why it was such a need here in Canada, because these guys are playing long seasons of football, and 2 seasons and sometimes 3 seasons of football the whole year. So it's a little bit different coming from the States, me and Anthony, than it is the way the situation is in Atlanta. In Canada, right, due to the shortening of the season. Go on.
Absolutely. So I think, having this touch component 7-on-7 is still very, very competitive. Work on the little things to help them develop and get better.
Yeah, no, that makes sense, guys. And I think, to what you were saying, Damon, I've noticed a bunch of kids over the years that I've been back in Ottawa involved in youth football. These kids that are, about 17 years old, sometimes their bodies are broken down right at the time when they should be in perfect condition, going off to either youth sports or maybe down in the States in some cases. So I think that non-contact is a great opportunity to build those fundamental skills, but also, save the toll on the body a little bit. And also, having the different non-contact and then waiting for your tackle season kind of builds, excitement for the season, where maybe that's lost if you're playing so much football all year long. You kind of get burnt out. I've had a few kids that were very good. We had a quarterback in Canada a number of years ago, and he went down to prep school in Hagersville, Maryland. And
I probably know what you're talking about, the quarterback.
Tyler Raymond, right?
Yes.
And he was just saying that, by the end of the process, he's a little bit tired out of that whole journey, and he's just excited to get back on a team and play some football again. And you kind of hear that. And to your point about multi-sports, I think Wayne Gretzky was always famous talking about the benefits of playing not just hockey, but other sports as well. So I think this is a great option. I know the people in Ottawa are excited about getting into this a bit more. Maybe you can tell me your experience with non-contact football. Do you see that a lot of participants playing that the flag and the 7-on-7 are new to the game of football, or are they kind of the same football players that would be playing tackle in most cases?
Well, I know at the flag level, we have the Under Armour flag football here in Canada, and what I've seen is that's really like the gateway for a lot of people to just try the game of football. People watching, a lot of parents, they have interest in it, but the fear of contact and an injury is what kind of scares those parents away. But what we've seen with the flag, especially at the young age, players 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, their first time ever playing football is through flag, and that's what kind of develops their love of the game, and they actually get better while playing and having fun. And like I say, they're introduced to a new sport, which is football,
right?
And that's what we're seeing in the flag component of it.
Yeah, I think even in my situation, like I said, I started off really early playing because it wasn't those kind of things involved. But like even with my son, he started off playing flag because of the mindset I've started to understand the benefits of flag, because I want him to have great coordination, hand-eye coordination, and all those things, and develop the skill set to be able, if he plays receiver or quarterback, that he can get away from someone, dodge someone, and then once they create that kind of confidence, and then it's a matter of when they start playing football, they have an idea already how to play in the different aspects of the game that they need to learn. And he was doing that during flag, in which flag has given him confidence in those things. But I see the benefit, especially 7-on-7, is due to the fact that that's part of our development, and that's part of development for high school kids, 7-on-7. So if you have a kid that desires to play football at the different levels and not involved in 7-on-7, then he's disconnected from the process, right, and the development side, because every kid in the States is playing 7-on-7 football when they're in the off season or preparing for tackle in their school.
Right.
And so that's part of their training and getting in shape. In the same time doing all that, you have an opportunity to be healthy doing it.
And to add, I know myself. I mean, Damon, you can agree to this as well. 7-on-7 was a part of every practice at the college level and at the pro level in the NFL and the CFL. Every practice we had a what you call it, 7-on-7 or pass skelly,
right,
or whatever you want to call it. This is where this all started from, right? So it's not really something new. This is what goes on at a college level or at the pro level. So to bring it to the high school level, you're only preparing them for the next level that they're going to walk into.
Right.
So it's a great component, and also when you talk about staying in shape in the off season, there's no shape when it comes to like being in football shape. I mean, you can run, you can run sprints, you can lift weights, but it's different from having to, run a goal out as a receiver, and then you have to run back to the huddle, get another play, run a post, and you come back, then you got to run a slant. That's a different type of conditioning. So, being able to get those football reps, I think, is very beneficial for quarterbacks to get their arm in condition. DBs, they can work on their angles and their footwork and breaking on certain routes. Mm-hmm. So it's very beneficial.
And the benefits too. I mean, with quarterbacks is the ability to read defense and throw on time with the procedures that it's taken. You have like 4 seconds to read covers, throw on time, and a variety of different things. So it teaches that aspect of the game without having O linemen and quarterback and O lineman and defensive lineman play. And like you said, it's always been a part of football, but now they're making it more on the development side and also tournament play. So a level of competition where now some kids are facing. I mean, we had a team down in that we took to Dallas, and they're playing against kids are going to LSU, Alabama, and all these things. And so I think the level of competition is so great, and it actually motivate kids to get better.
Yeah, I agree, Damon. I think I notice a lot of kids, there's a fascination with playing U.S. competition now. Football is such a hard game to travel with because you got so many bodies and it's pretty expensive. But 7-on-7 allows you to have that tournament model where you can introduce a little bit more travel. And in fact, what we're talking about here with you guys is potentially some Ottawa, Toronto, tournaments that we could set up.
That's what we were talking about as well, me and Damon, as far as the structure of what we're going to, implement as far as the league component. But I think having that traveling aspect just here in Canada alone, with the talent that's in Ottawa, the talent that's here in Toronto, football talent in Hamilton, London, that whole area, there's enough football talent where we can have an elite, league championship series where we can play during the winter and have, some quality competition throughout this province of in Ontario. And
it's cost effective and a variety of different things. I mean, because so often teams who have put 7-on-7, they have to use U.S. schedule, and that can be quite expensive. But like I said, if there's enough teams across Canada that has this, then we can actually play teams within Canada, which would be cost effective. But then, like I said, the talent will be playing other different kids, and so the talent level will still be there.
Yeah.
And that's, also part of it all, right? You don't have to have a U.S. schedule to compete on 7-on-7 tournaments with so many Canadian cities that have 7-on-7.
Right, and you see a lot of these big tournaments in the States. So even if you have something where the league play and the most of the travel can be done in Canada, maybe you can talk about the opportunities that do exist at some of these big tournaments in the U.S. And do you find that 7-on-7 is a valid kind of gateway to being recruited and seen, and maybe leading to some opportunities for scholarships potentially? Is that something that factors in with all this?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, these big tournaments that the guys go to down in the States, they get a lot of media coverage from 24/7 Sports and Rivals. I mean, you name it, everyone's there at these big tournaments. And if you want to represent yourself as one of the best, you have to go up against some of the best talent out there, right? And that can kind of be a measuring stick for a coach to say, all right, this kid, he can really compete at a high level against some talented athletes. So, I mean, I know myself, when I was coming out of high school, I got my offer from Tulane University just based on, my ability or to keep up with someone who was already committed to the university that played on my team. We were running sprints actually after practice as a team, and I didn't enjoy the running after practice. So sometimes I would just run really fast, and that was my way of saying, you know what, coach, I'm going to, we're going to be done really quick because I'm just going to beat everyone, and that was just my way of saying, what this is.
Kenna was fast too, by the way.
All right.
I ran a 10.6, 10.5 in high school, so
wow.
I had some wheels, and it was me and Sean Lucas who actually played here in the CFL for quite some time for Saskatchewan. He was already committed to university, and I was a linebacker. He was a cornerback, and I was sitting there beating him in every sprint. And coaches, it's little things like that they'll use to kind of let them know that, all right, this kid's okay. He's a talented player, or he has something that's different about him. So sometimes you can see things on film, watching the football film. You can watch hours and hours of the film, but you never know what that person is really made up of, until you can actually see them compete, in person. And I think this is just an opportunity to watch, kids compete.
And there are scouts that come out and watch these kids. When we played in that tournament in Dallas, it was the top 24 7-on teams in the country playing each other, and there were a lot of scouts, at Dallas Stadium watching some kids play. And I mean, one of our kids that came out of our program got a scholarship to go to Syracuse.
Nice. we've got a local Syracuse boy here that's training a lot of our athletes in Ottawa, Pat Woodcock, and I think those guys would definitely be interested in this as well. So that's kind of that's definitely attractive for the real competitive kids that are later on in their development. Hearing that, but maybe you could talk about the co-ed aspect too at the flag level and at the real younger ages, and what are the benefits of that kind of inclusivity and the ethics of just working as a team at that younger age.
I think it has a lot to do with, like, at the younger age, from grades 1 to 8, is the introduction. We're getting kids that probably look at football from the outside but never think about playing, and this gives them the opportunity to test it out. And so it's the introduction, along with with the kids that are motivated to play a game of football and want to get started. Like I said, the non-contact aspect is really good because you're teaching them so many different fundamentals. But when it comes to the lower age, it's really an introduction. It's really a great tool for kids who are on that fence and not showing if they can play the game of football, and they don't have to play tackle, but they can play touch or flag. It's the introduction that's really the unique aspect. And then, like I said, when you get some girls out there, we don't realize how talented some of these girls, and they love football, and they give them the opportunity to compete with the boys. Because I think we have a couple of our leagues in Milton. Yeah. There's a girl that's the best player on the field. She's not just good; she's dope. Yeah.
That's I'm not surprised, because I think I was telling Anthony a couple weeks ago, I used to coach the Powder Puff tournament for McMaster, where we had all the Touch Girls winter football teams met at Laurier University, and all the football players from those universities would be the coaches on those teams, and it's unbelievable talent. And it's a shame that it's not bigger for football is not a bigger sport for girls, but I think you guys are kind of changing that. But
has a really good co-ed and flag football amateur component as well, because I was at the Laverty family.
Yes.
Right. And they, when I was in Ottawa, they had started that, and the great Ed Laverty, and the history behind all that. So there's a great amateur level of flag football in Ottawa, which it really fits. It's almost like the feeder of the next generation of kids coming through.
Right.
Flag and touch. We'll be playing in these, forever touch and flag football if they're not making it professionally. But so there's leagues out there, whether it's men's leagues, ladies leagues. These are all the introduction and the feeder for what they've already been doing in Ottawa already. So it really gives you an opportunity to actually grow the game from the grassroots in a much younger age.
Yeah, that's actually a great point, Damon. And I think a big part of this is getting them involved. I know Ed's daughter has started a foundation, and her goal is to try to promote the non-contact. So we already some great partners in place for this. Yeah, absolutely, Tammy, you're right. So that brings me to another point of as a way of getting more people involved and growing the game of football. In your experience in Southern Ontario, what are some of the most effective ways you guys have been able to promote the flag programs and the 7-on-7?
Just really through experience. We offer a lot of free football camps. So when we open up a league in any location or area, what we try to do is go in and have a free football camp and just have the kids come out and just enjoy themselves, have a good time, just experience the game of football, learn some skills, and really just build confidence.
Right.
And that, I think that in itself kind of spreads organically, and then it grows from there.
But we use all the social media and the video and all the components to help because, like I said, we're dealing with millennials, and so they want to see visual components. So we have to use the social media aspect along with teaching the game the proper way, and that's the number one thing is once they get on the field is we're teaching the game and fundamentally sound on how to play the game into creating that kind of interest there, because there's a lot of people that love the game of football, but they just don't know how to get started. And so when it comes to 7-on-7, we have an open camp. And we want all the skilled players and anybody who desires to play to come out, and we're going to show you how to compete, and we're going to have one-on-one, and we're going to see the skill set. But in the meantime, with that camp, we want to know if anyone's available, or not only available, but interested in establishing and being a part of the 7-on-7 league. And so that's aspects and introducing the game to them and creating a league. And so we use a variety of different platforms, but at the end of the day, man, it's about teaching kids how to play the proper way.
Yeah. And also, developing partnerships and relationships in the community, I think is the main goal for us, is to kind of build some type of unity amongst all these different football organizations and coaches. I mean, we're all one and the same when it comes to what we're trying to achieve, and that's just keeping these players safe, number one, but helping them just play the game and enjoy it. And it could be from tackle or flag or touch, whatever it may be. But as long as you're playing the game, that's what we are most concerned about, and that's what we're aiming to do.
And we have to think about that when it comes to team concept and those things. And because football is one of the greatest games ever, because you have to rely on so many different pieces in the game of football. So we are not only teaching developmental, but we're teaching how to function as a team. And that goes from all the coaches that are involved to all the players that are playing, and to teach them that aspect. Because, I mean, there's so many kids that are talented, but they don't know how to function with the team concept, and they don't know that concept, and that's something that I think every individual, no matter what profession that you're in, we have to know team concept, because it starts with our little small family that we learned a little bit of, and then if we're in corporate Canada or corporate America, you have to be in a team concept, or if you play sport, any kind of sport, you're dealing with the team concept. So it's so important to not only teach the game of football, but teach team concept, and to allow these kids to function, how they're going to function best. And that's trusting your teammates, doing your job, and all those different things. I mean, that's how you win championships.
And hey, you're a guy that knows a little bit about that. And we've got a unique situation in Ottawa where we're territory bound. We've as a club, we've really tried to strengthen the territories and made adjustments over the years, based on neighborhoods coming up or coming down. But I think that's important, because ethically these days you see a lot of kids wanting to jump from one team to the next for the better opportunity or a better swag bag, and really teaching those kids that you should play for the area that you come from and with the guys around you in the neighborhood. And it's less about winning championships as it is bringing up the guys around you and making that team that you were given and inherited better. So maybe you could just talk a little bit about the ethics of that, because we still do have situations where maybe people are acting a little unethically, but
the recruiting aspect.
Yeah,
interesting to hear from your take on that, guys.
I mean, I know myself. Where I'm from, my high school in Atlanta, Stone Mountain, Georgia. I mean, we have guys that played before me, that played with me, that play after me, and we have so much pride in what we established and what we built. And everybody that's come through that program, or that wants to be a part of that program, they understand the culture that was built. And in order to build a culture or that type of team atmosphere, or that setting, you want to have some type of sense of pride, within your local community, or your hood, if you want to call it that. And I think that makes it that much more meaningful when you're going out there to suit up and wear the colors that represent, you know, where you're from or where you live. I mean, it's to me that it just makes the game more, you know, more exciting, and
Right.
and it makes everything, you know, more. I guess what's the word I'm looking for?
Like
here?
you said, meaningful, right? Like definitely a lot of meaning in what you're doing if you feel that sense of pride. I'm with you on that 100%.
Well, but yeah, but we're talking about the ethics behind it all and those things, and I think there's always a variety of different reasons why, you know, someone wants to, you know, leave one team for another, and I think even in this situation, there are ways to go about doing it, right? Like if somebody wants to leave and go to another team, you know, I think there has to be a conversation between both coaches or the organization, situations, you know, give a reason why and right. Those things. But as far as the ethics of recruiting someone because you're trying to improve your football team and taking players from other players, I mean, then that's something that's it should be frowned upon. If a person wants to leave your team for to go to another team, then they should give a reason to and still have the communication. So there's ways to go about doing it to make it okay. But when we just talking about just straight out trying to take your player, those things, and then that's really the biggest issue that I think most coaches have, and I think that starts with the coaches and the recruiting aspect of, you know, how you want to, you know, get a player and how you're going to grow your team.
Right. Great.
There's enough talent out there, but you know there are some teams that you play against. You go, man, we had that player.
Yeah.
And then you try to find ways and scheme ways to try to get that player on your team, and that's the wrong way to go about doing it. Yeah. So
hey, we heard it from a couple legends here, and you know, that's what's so good about this non-contact is that really what you're doing is you're growing the talent base of potential players, and you're increasing the pie as opposed to fighting for pieces of the pie like we see some of these coaches doing. I think that's a great point. Me and
Anthony always talk about, like, when you grow them and you grow a successful organization, they come.
Right.
The good ones look at you and go, man, that's the team I want to join, and they join you from the start.
Yeah. But I always joke with Damon, and people always say, man, like how do you guys always find all these good players? And I tell them all the time, I don't go look for players, we develop them. So
right,
you know, what you see is a finished product of what we've done. But this player wasn't always playing at this level. I mean, trust me, like we've had some players,
some guys who were like, wow,
like, oh, this is a project. But
yeah.
In 4 years they're all Canadian, you know, top player in the country now. So it's we really believe in this, and I think every player that decides to add this component to their development at any level will benefit from it.
Will benefit from it.
That's awesome, guys. I'm not going to hold you up much longer here. I really appreciate you guys coming on the show, and I'm a huge supporter, and I'm excited to help build this in Ottawa with your guys' support and help. And before I let you go, I do want, this is a Canadian kind of show and a Canadian football.
Can you see we got our Canadian stuff on?
Yeah, there you go. Good.
All Canadian bowling, IDFFL, we all Canadian.
Awesome. So having said that, I want to get 2 team picks from both of you. We'll start with Damon. Who's going to win the Grey Cup this year and the Vanier?
Ooh, man, you put me on the spot here because, you know, when you work for an organization, you always, you know, rooting for that organization, just like last year. I'm pretty sure no one picked the Argos to win the Grey Cup, but I always say this, the teams that are playing the best at the end of the year have an opportunity to represent. But we know it's going to be an Eastern and a Western team in the Grey Cup.
Right.
Probably most favorite in out West would probably be the Stampeders. Once again, the way they've been playing and their quarterback, and they have a good organization, a good football team. You know, out East is really up to grab, but, you know, most people at this day and age and this start right now, everyone would say Hamilton. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would agree with those two.
But you never know, right? We can't wait. We don't know until the playoffs start, and we can all speculate, who we think may happen. But we all know that the game is played on the field, and the players would determine who goes to the Grey Cup or not.
Well, I think that was the situation like you talked about in 2004 with the Argos.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or was it? Yeah, 2014.
Oh, it was 2004 because we thought we were gonna go. We thought we were gonna win. I'm playing quarterback.
Right.
Hey, I'm playing quarterback, so that we knew we were gonna win the Grey Cup.
And do you? Yeah, that's a good answer, and I expect nothing less. Do you follow the U Sports, the Canadian University football at all?
Well, I mean, I do just because I have a lot of players
we have kids.
Yeah, we have kids that have come through our program, and they're all sprinkled throughout throughout college football. So if I had to take my pick for the Vanier this year, I'm going to go with Western.
Okay.
And reason being is because Chris Merchant is a starting quarterback, and he was our first year. We took a team down to Chicago, the first time we've ever put a 7-on-7 team together. And Chris Merchant, he was at St. Andrews College at the time, and he was our quarterback. And I knew he was special then. Gifted quarterback, and I know as a player, if you have a good quarterback, he can lead you. And I think they went to the Vanier last year. They may have won it.
I think we have a couple of kids in Ottawa up there.
Yeah, we have a couple of players at Carleton as well.
Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah, they were just playing Laurier, and I think that game went right down to the wire too.
Yeah,
okay, so maybe a little undecided.
We got kids at Laurier too.
That's right. Yeah, there's some good ones there too. So maybe the diplomatic, political answers on who's going to win the Grey Cup from you guys. I'm going to go Red Blacks because we are in Ottawa here.
Forgot about the Red Blacks. They are playing pretty good in East too.
They're going to play Hamilton twice, so
it's going to be up to how well Trevor plays. I mean,
that's it. That's it.
It's a quarterback-driven league, and that's one thing I can say. It's a quarterback-driven league, and they would dictate, what team goes to the Grey Cup.
Fantastic, guys. Thanks for joining us on the HESN Live Football Show, and we're going to be talking lots to you guys in the coming weeks and months as the tackle season wraps up and the non-contact football in Ottawa starts really getting a boost here.
Looking forward to it. Yes. Thanks a lot, man.
All right. Hope you enjoyed the show. I got to get to Beckwith. Thanks for tuning in, guys. And the way that you can help this company grow and become what it wants to be, and the vision is to subscribe to the YouTube channel, number one. Like the Facebook page, like NACAFA's Facebook page. And just tune into what we're doing. Share all the content. You might think that you don't have a big network, but on Facebook, if you share it on your Facebook profile, it can actually do a big difference for us. So please do those things. That's all we ask. And thanks for tuning in.